The Basement Dwellers podcast is brought to you by Dynamite Shirts. Now offering several services such as screen printing, embroidery, vinyl transfer, and even decals. Visit dynamite-shirts.com and get you some sweet custom clothing today.
Press start to continue.
They are those who live in the shadows, who feed upon Doritos and Mountain Dew. They take comfort in their dark habitats as they watch reruns of sci-fi shows long past. They are the Basement Dwellers.
Show me what you got!
So say we all. So say we all. So say we all.
Indeed.
Yes. This is a fertile land and we will thrive. We will rule over all this land and you will call it this land.
Make it so.
Join me. Together, we can rule the galaxy far from sun. I want to believe.
We better get back, because it'll be dark soon, and they mostly come at night. Mostly.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Season 3, Episode 7 of The Basement Dwellers, a bi-weekly podcast dedicated to all activities most enjoyed by those who spend their time in the deepest, darkest, and dankest of basements everywhere. I'm your host, Wes Tanner, and tonight we're getting weird-er. So sit back, buckle up, and prepare your anuses for some more conspiracies and unexplained whatever the plural for phenomenon is. I'm joined as always by my fellow basement dwellers, Drew, Tucci, Lauren, and returning guest, Johnny. What's up, guys?
Hey.
What's up?
Hey, hi. Hello.
Hi.
Oh, God. Hey.
Hey. So who here has played Apex Legends?
Oh, yes.
No.
Nope.
No? It's
Johnny, didn't you play it and hate it? For like
I
3
deleted
minutes?
it within like 30 minutes, yeah. I'm not a fan of the battle royales.
No?
Yeah, you know, neither am I.
I'm not
Neither am
either.
I, but I actually like Apex.
Yeah. I was a big fan of Titanfall 2 when it came out, and I mean Apex plays differently, obviously, but it's like kind of set in the I recognize some of the weapons at least, and it's very smooth, but I played 2 matches the other day with Ron, and we got our asses handed to us, but it was a lot better than fucking Fortnite, and I I haven't played PUBG, but I don't know, if I were to pick between the 3 of them, I'm probably going to continue on with Apex Legends just to try it out, see how good I can get at it, because right now I'm not.
I've got a rant for this. If you guys got 30 seconds, if you want to hear why battle royale is just objectively bad,
Go for it,
and
man.
why it's bad for video games.
Oh, I agree, but go ahead. I want to hear it.
Okay, the problem with stuff like Fortnite and PUBG and all this stuff, it's these free games that they throw out there, right? And then you've got kids. Like, I've got an 11-year-old who's obsessed with Fortnite.
Yeah, you can hear her cackling right now.
Fortnite is arguably one of the most successful video games of all time, and it's arguably also one of the worst. Because the thing is, people my age, people in their 30s, the average age of a gamer is 35. A 35-year-old gamer spends money on video games, and these are the people that video game developers should be pitching games at, but they're no longer doing that. Now they're pitching games at 11-year-olds, kids who spend no money on video games, and that's influencing how developers are making games. You got Call of Duty throwing in a battle royale version on it. You've got more of these copycats coming out from not even Fortnite, because before that it was PUBG, which was a little bit more fun because it was a little bit more realistic, and it wasn't like Minecraft with fucking pea shooters, but it was a little bit more towards. It reminded me a lot of like 7 Days to Die kind of thing, like just that same kind of graphics, but a lot of exploration and a little bit of competition there. But
yeah,
it's just really just driving game development, shooters especially, into a kind of backing them into a corner that I don't think is where shooters should be going right now, personally.
Well, I agree. They just announced earlier, I think this month, well, no, last month now, but they just announced that, the big shiny new news for Call of Duty is that they're going to have a single player campaign this year.
Thank God.
It's like, why is that news? That should be like a given. I hate
that. Was the best part.
I know. But speaking of other games, I played over the weekend. I played the Division 2 beta, the open beta that they had.
How was that?
JJ's probably gonna hate me for saying it, but I probably not gonna get it. It's just more of the same, man. The scenery is by far much less depressing than just wandering around snowy New York, but now you're just wandering around like destroyed DC, which is cool, but
that's fantastic.
But I didn't experience anything, and it was only like maybe a half hour to an hour that I played it, but I didn't really like experience anything that it gave me the wow factor that made me like, look forward to picking it up. So I don't know, maybe after a while, and maybe after like the first discounts come out later this year.
So you wouldn't buy it at full retail. You're saying you would potentially buy it on sale, though.
Yeah, I would buy it for like $40 or $50, but that extra $10 at full retail, I don't know.
A little much.
It's just, I don't know. It doesn't do anything special for me. I didn't get a chance to like go in depth with any of the systems or anything like that. It plays identical to the first one as far as the controls go. Character progression, didn't really get to much of that because there's only so much you can do in a demo, but
that's a little unhappy.
Yeah, it was, I don't know. I'm just overall just not excited over it. Maybe as they show more of it, but I thought having been able to play it, it'd be okay, but I don't know. Yeah. Right now it's a maybe for me. So, one more thing before we move on here. I got, let's see here. One more thing. Yep. The next installment of the One Shot Adventurers Guild is coming up on March 30th on Twitch, which our Twitch channel is www.twitch.tv/tbdpod. So come follow us and hang out on game day as we start part 2 of the Lost Mine of Fandover, which is the starting, the D&D or 5th edition starting module that comes with the starting thing. Johnny, I heard you got that.
Got what? I'm sorry. I was actually trying to follow you guys on Twitch.
Oh, okay.
On my phone, yeah.
Did you get the D&D starter edition?
Yeah, I have that. I think it's out in my garage right now.
You played it yet? Or you looked at the book or anything?
I tried to play with my kid, but her attention span is shorter than
that sucks.
The patience I have for kids.
That's all right. With taking that adventure and playing with our group specifically, like we have drawn it out like quite a bit compared to what I've seen other playthroughs of it, and they're going through sections that took us like 3 to 4 hours to get through. They're blowing through it in like 30 minutes. So it really depends on the group that you play with, but overall it's fun. But yeah, we got a lot to get to tonight, so we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we get back, we're going to talk about conspiracies and unexplained phenomena. So stick with us, and we will be right back.
What's up, everybody? JJ here. I'm a super nostalgic person, and one of the things that has given me so many memories over the years has been my experiences with video games. I mean, sure, I like hearing reviews, watching Let's Plays, and getting news about the latest releases, but what I really love is hearing about how gaming has affected people on a personal level. That's why I decided to start my own YouTube channel, Game Room Revival. I talk not only about games I love, but why I love them so much, and what they've meant to me over the years. I'm a retro game collector, and the games that mean the most to me are the ones that have great memories attached to them. So, If you're like me and have a passion for talking and hearing about how games have affected people personally, I invite you to come check out my YouTube channel, Game Room Revival. Thanks. And now, back to the basement.
And if we try, just the two of us. Just the two of us.
And with that, we're back, and we're gonna start off our seems to be we have at least one episode per season, kind of a what do you call it, a tradition now. We're gonna have conspiracy night, and tonight is that night. So we're gonna go ahead and start off with Drew's conspiracy, or I don't know what you would call it. Not everything's a conspiracy, but
well, it's conspiracies.
I picked an unexplained phenomena.
Yeah, that's a great way
now,
to put it.
Does anybody know? Is it like if you're talking about more than one phenomenon? Is it phenomena or phenomenon?
It's phenomena.
Phenomenon. Okay, whatever. All right, Drew, take it away, man. What do you got?
It's probably phenomena or something like that. But
phenomenati.
Phenomenati. Sorry, Drew. Go ahead.
So the Michigan Triangle is a triangle of area over Lake Michigan. The points are Ludington, Benton Harbor, and Manitowoc. I found three little tidbits about it that were collaborated across multiple sites. The first one was Northwest Flight 2501, which back in 1950 was a DC-4 prop liner that was carrying 58 people that just vanished over the lake. Excuse me. Disappeared over Lake Michigan, 18 miles northwest of Benton Harbor. The pilot had requested to descend to 2,500 feet because of severe electrical storms, and then the plane just disappeared off of radar. They went to search for it, and despite using sonar and trawling the lake, no wreckage was ever found. There were, however, bits of upholstery and human remains found in the lake. Years later, there were 2 mass graves discovered in St. Joe and South Haven, Michigan, that contained parts of the remains, but the families were never notified of that. The second one is the disappearance of Captain Donner. On April 28, 1937, Captain George R. Donner vanished from his cabin after guiding the freighter O.M. McFarland through the locks of northern Michigan. He retreated to his cabin with instructions to wake him when they neared port. 3 hours later, the second mate went to wake him, only to find his cabin locked from the inside. After breaking the door down, the cabin was found empty, and after searching the ship, no trace was ever found, and no clues have ever been discovered of his whereabouts.
Ooh.
Jesus.
And then in 2007, a 40-foot underwater ring was found in the triangle, made of rocks that were painted with prehistoric carvings and were arranged very similarly to Stonehenge and other related circles. One of these stones had a carving of a mastodon, which dated the circle to at least 10,000 years old, considering that's when the mastodon went extinct. And then a little tidbit I found was the Great Lakes account for more disappearances than the Bermuda Triangle, even though the Bermuda Triangle is 16 times larger than the Great Lakes.
And more famous.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I had never heard that before.
Yeah, me neither. I grew up on the lake, too.
Yeah, like I'm on Lake Michigan right now. So
I'm going to say, I think all of us except for like Tucci have grown up right by the lake.
I mean, I've been to Grand Rapids before.
Have you?
I know that's not super close or anything.
That's close enough.
About 40 minutes.
Yeah, it's not that bad then. Yeah,
Wow.
I've been to Grand Rapids. I have family that lives up there, or at least used to. So.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
Yeah.
Drew, what was 2007 like the latest disappearance?
Well, 2007 is when they found that. It was a ring of rocks around.
So it's kind of the newest event, I guess.
Yeah, and from what I saw, is they're still trying to like verify and confirm what that actually is.
Can I go swim down there and see it for myself?
I mean, I don't know.
Do you know if they like brought that stuff up, or are they like trying to study it
I think they're trying to study it
as is?
as is, so you don't disturb it.
Yeah, just in case it like brings about the end of the world.
My first question involved disturbing it. So.
Well, that, and then once you start moving stuff like that, it can affect how you date it, and once you expose it to air, things can happen to it that can make it impossible to date.
Yeah, I've never heard that one before. I've never even heard of the Michigan Triangle. It's just called the Michigan Triangle, not Great Lakes Triangle or anything. I'm trying to look it up.
From what I saw, it was called either the Lake Michigan Triangle or the Michigan Triangle.
Okay. I have to look more.
I discovered this at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning this morning. So.
Oh, this morning?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
That's pretty cool.
Good deal. All right. Johnny, on to you, man. You're going to talk about Facebook. Everybody's favorite social media.
Inform me, my friend.
I don't know what the right word is here, but yeah, go ahead.
I was instructed not to get too political, so I'm going to try and steer as far away from that as possible.
It's okay.
And just stick with like the technical aspects of it. You ever been like talking to somebody about something specific, maybe just having a conversation about something in particular, and then later that day you get ads popping up in your feed for that exact thing?
Oh yeah.
Even though they might have never popped up in your feed before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ice cream. I've had that happen with ice cream before.
I concur.
Yeah. Me and Lauren were just having a conversation the other day about diabetes because it's Fat Tuesday. We were talking about how I ate a whole box of punchkis in one sitting. Within seriously an hour, I have ads for diabetes medications on my news feed.
Jesus.
And like this isn't like something that like a crazy person thinks of. This is something that people see like every day and complain about every day about how they think their phone's listening to them. Mm-hmm. And Mark Zuckerberg recently had to go in front of Congress. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Oh yeah,
the robot.
Yeah.
But they asked it point blank. And I have the direct quote of how he answered the question.
Processing.
Let's see.
Processing.
Senator Gary Peters, Democrat from Michigan, asked Zuckerberg, yes or no, does Facebook use audio obtained from mobile devices to enrich personal information about users? Zuckerberg responded, no. And that was it. Documented liar, Mark Zuckerberg, because if you look through the terms of service on the Messenger app that I'm sure all of you have on your phones, myself included, it pretty much demands that it has pretty constant audio access, and which is explained away in like, oh, it needs access to audio in exchange for like phone calls and stuff like that.
That's for voice calls and everything.
Yeah. But I mean, even in this New York Times or excuse me, USA Today article I've got up here so I can get that quote for Mark Zuckerberg. Where was I going with that? Oh yeah. This has been a long running quote unquote conspiracy that people have been bringing up. Like, and it ties back into something called targeted advertisement, like, cookies on websites. So kind of just keep track of what you're searching, what you're typing about, like what your interests might be based on your the way you traverse the internet. And then they send those little tidbits of information, just those like little clicks, like what you clicked on versus what you didn't click on, stuff like that, over to advertisement companies, third-party companies that in turn go into their little analytics department and decide what to pitch at you as far as ads go. And a lot of people, not just me, but a lot of people think that the Messenger app actually just has that microphone going 24/7, waiting for keywords. My theory personally is that there's certain companies that pay Facebook to pitch their products at people that seem more relevant than the cookie information can give them. So my theory is that, yeah, it's always listening, but it's only marking down all these keywords. Like when me and Lauren were talking about diabetes, it like pinged a keyword, and then instantly, because I'm logged into Messenger, it knows exactly which Facebook feed to start throwing in diabetes medications. But
It definitely makes sense because I've been talking a lot about anime and waifus lately. And I've had a lot of different
same buddy, same.
Yeah, I've had a lot of ads about oh, you should play this game. It's got all kinds of waifu in it, man.
Read the comments on those too. Read the comments on those sometimes.
They're juicy.
The best part. The best part is the comments.
It's pretty creepy in the review section sometimes.
I think it gets it wrong a lot too, though, because you know those ads that you get that just don't make any sense. I don't know, erectile dysfunction medication. Because I mean, who's got that problem? Or the other day, I got an HIV treatment ad, and I'm really as someone who firmly believes that Mark Zuckerberg's targeted advertisement works as well as it's paying itself to do. Does he know something that I don't know?
Yeah. Maybe it knows you have the HIV before you have the HIV.
Right.
I mean, we were talking about AIDS yesterday. We were talking about Jim Henson.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, he didn't die
it
from
led
AIDS,
into AIDS. I know, but it led into discussion.
Oh man, that's
interesting segue.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about this conversation anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know how that went that way either. But it
I have to.
I made a joke off of it.
Not wanting to get medical treatment, blah blah blah, then led to vaccinations and led to AIDS.
Right, because the article from '96 when that was published said something about how vaccines have done a lot for bacterial infections or some shit, and I went on a whole tirade about that. But
that's a fun tirade to have.
Yeah, who wrote that? Who passed that along?
Well, you had mentioned that the hearing with Zuckerberg and Congress and everything about him saying that they don't collect audio and everything like that. That could be true for coming from Facebook's standpoint, because I'm pretty sure that it's actually Google that will collect the data, and I'm not sure what exactly their official connection is to Facebook, but I imagine that it might not even be Google, but it could just be maybe this is a theory, but it could just be another third party. So technically him saying that it's not Facebook that's collecting your data, it could be true. So
or you could really break it down and say he never said that it wasn't Facebook. All he said was no.
Yeah. Yep.
He didn't go in and explain anything. He didn't trip over himself. He gave the most vague answer possible. And all he said was no.
Yeah, that was probably a very strict lawyer advised answer. But yeah, it's
covering his ass just in case.
He's
a mastermind for sure.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic for sure, and that's actually what I mean. Not to this degree per se, but this is what I'm going to school for, is marketing and advertising and stuff like that.
Ooh,
so
get it, marketing.
Yeah, the targeted ads are definitely a thing. Whether or not it's due to invasions of privacy as far as collecting audio data, I mean, that I don't know. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, it has to. When you the coincidence would just be way too great for them to be showing you ads for something completely unrelated to your life. I had a friend from my old workplace who he and his wife were talking about another friend of theirs who needed counseling, and both of them weren't talking about for themselves, but they were talking about this mutual friend of theirs needing counseling for, I don't remember what the personal reason was, like divorce or something like that. But sure enough, he got on Facebook later that night and started seeing ads for counseling, and he's like, it's not related to him and his life, just they were talking about it. So that whole deal with the keywords that you were talking about, if they're doing that, which signs point to yes, but if they're doing that, that'd be the best way to do it, because we already have that with the smart TVs and Amazon Echo and
Google Home, Google, got fucking Alexa,
Siri, yeah, exactly.
So, I have a different theory.
Go for it.
Let's hear it.
I think Mark Zuckerberg is the first AI. Because think about it. No. Think about this logically. If you were the first AI and your first intention was to figure out what it was to be human, what would you make so you could get to know every human? Think about it. All you have to do is think about it. I know it's freaky.
Yeah,
it's freaky. But because you have him, and now all these other little AIs are coming out. You've got fucking Siri, Google, the Amazon Alexa. Yeah, I mean all of these motherfuckers, and it's like they're kind of all in sync if you think about it. They're all in the same dirty shit.
Well, you guys heard that whole deal after all the different challenges that go around Facebook, where they're like, oh, post the first picture that you posted on Facebook and now the most recent, and everyone's like, oh, that's basically training Facebook to do facial profiling. So,
right. And he was on record being very pro AI. Him and Elon Musk got into it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right, because Elon's not too sure about AI.
Yeah, his exact response was Mark Zuckerberg's understanding of the subject is very limited, and that was one of my favorite digs I've ever heard about Mark Zuckerberg.
I mean,
his
Elon
understanding
Musk
is limited.
Literally my spirit animal.
I love
There's
that guy.
No other person that
he's
is
a super
closer
villain waiting to happen. He really is.
No, he's a good man. He's helping the
I'm
world.
sure.
Or
Yeah.
Batman, you never know.
Yeah.
Oh, Batman on
Batman.
Mars.
Yeah.
He's not the hero we need. He's the hero we deserve, and I'm fine with that.
Mars needs Batman, guys.
Mars needs Batman's. Batman. Jesus, I can't
The
talk.
universe needs Batman.
Nothing new there. Yeah. Can you? I just as a side question here. Like, what do you guys think is going to happen after we don't have Facebook anymore? Like, MySpace was replaced, and I think before that, like
Live Journal.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
like, what do you think? What do you think the next thing is going to be? Like, I don't know. Like, Facebook is such a powerhouse that
GoPro streaming.
Oh,
And apparently Twitter's more popular with the younger crowd these days.
the young kids.
That and like TikTok and like all that junk that's on there.
I know, but
Snapchat.
like, okay, maybe Twitter, but like as far as like social media goes, like
I'm so
Facebook.
sick of TikTok ads on everything. Fucking
Well, now you're guaranteed to get them even more.
Yeah,
now.
exactly.
I'm guaranteed to get them anyway because I think they
Yeah,
know I hate it.
but
It's
now,
like Sublime,
even more.
Pandora plays Sublime over.
AI is trolling boots.
Yeah, it is.
Oh God.
It's gonna be Google Plus, guys. That's gonna be the next big thing.
I don't know. Didn't they already?
They already tried and failed.
Yeah.
I think they shut that down this month.
Yeah.
Oh, did they? Good.
And that's the thing. That's the thing. If Google can't do it, I mean, like, compared to Facebook, if Google can't do it, like, who can? Like,
yeah.
I don't think Google got a fair shake, though.
No.
I mean,
The
they came in
setup
at the
was
wrong
bad.
time.
Like
It was
but
a
they
bad
didn't have any
platform.
room for growth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They really
mean,
shit the bed on that one.
The only good part about Google Plus was that you could link your YouTube channel straight to your Google Plus account.
Okay.
So it would be good, but it would be good for basically only YouTubers. So
Well,
it was very niche markety.
Google Hangouts is really cool too. I've heard a couple different podcasters using that for their bonus episodes.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love Google Hangouts over like Skype.
A lot of people will play
use-
D&D using Google Hangout too. So
Yeah.
They're
I
getting
want to
rid
bring
of their
back AIM and Yahoo chat rooms
ew,
yeah.
no.
because I want to play Yahoo like graffiti.
That's
I miss
just called
doing
a
that.
group text.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got that in our group text. You've got
But I can't play graffiti with that.
You just want to go into
all
random
kinds of other
messages.
games. You
You
can
just
don't
want
wanna
to
play
open
pool.
random chats with people so you can be like ASL,
Yeah.
or so you can just be like, and that's a dick.
Yep.
Tinder's not
Yeah.
working for me, so I need Yahoo chat rooms back.
Yahoo chat. Oh
Yeah,
God, that's
the
dangerous.
next big thing is Tinder.
Yeah, as a
Tinder's,
social
like,
media
already-
platform.
Like
Tinder is a hookup platform. That's all that is. That's not something you want your parents to see.
Tinder jumped the shark 5 years ago.
Hey, your parents might use Tinder. You never know.
my mom
Yeah, but
probably
it's still
does.
not something they'd probably want to see.
Remember when Facebook was talking about doing the dating?
Yeah, like a year ago.
Yeah. Like, I wonder. I wonder how that's going. I haven't heard a single thing about it since we talked about it. I just forgot about it and like literally until just now. But I think this is a good break point before we finish the night. We got two more topics to talk about. So again, stick with us and we will return in a moment.
Hey, do you want to play games for a good cause? Join Extra Life, a community of 50,000 gamers all over the world who play games to heal kids at Children's Miracle Network hospitals. Find out more at extra-life.org.
Do you like role-playing? How about podcasts? How about a podcast about role-playing? Check out our friends at Tomorrow's End, a podcast that follows a role-playing group as they navigate through a post-apocalyptic wasteland. Find them now on iTunes and Google Play. Yep, we are now back again, and we're going to go ahead and finish the night up with Tucci talking about government doing shady shit.
Yeah, so this is kind of like a super highlight for me. I always love talking about the government in bad ways. So specifically went out of my way to find one of these. But no, anyways, I remember this this topic from watching like a documentary I think I saw Jesse Ventura put out. And essentially it's the government ordered $1 billion worth of disposable coffins for use with FEMA camps was the claim. Or is the claim, I guess, still. But more or less what happened is in Georgia, there was a company that I'm not entirely sure if the government actually purchased all these, but more or less the idea is that the government spent $1 billion buying these and then stashed them in Georgia. I've got the name here somewhere. Give me 1 second.
I remember seeing footage of that on YouTube years ago.
Yeah, it's Madison, Georgia. So if you Google Madison, Georgia, one of the first videos it'll have probably either Alex Jones or like Jesse Ventura's thing about it. But yeah, so is this that the idea behind it is that the government was either planning to kill a whole bunch of people, or is planning or is preparing for like a massive outbreak, because one of the nicknames that this whole conspiracy theory was given was Fearbola. When the whole Ebola thing broke out, around 2014, when everyone's freaking out that we're going to get Ebola in a first world country.
Because people don't vaccinate.
Yeah, well, I mean, Ebola is a little differently than that.
Easy.
We'll let that one go for now. But
in fairness, there was a couple cases.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was people coming from a third world country, though.
Yeah,
it wasn't happening because of meat in the U.S.
No, certainly not.
So yeah, I do know that some Americans did contract Ebola, though. But yeah, so that's essentially what it was. It was just kind of like a government conspiracy on that people were thinking the government was planning for a whole bunch of deaths, whether by their own hands or just preparing for famine and disease to break out. So, and essentially, from my understanding, should I like go into like debunking it, or what do you guys want?
I don't know, man. Do you want to keep the mystery alive, or do you want like people to? Like...
I mean, the mystery is pretty simple to solve, so I'll let everybody do their own research. But, but yeah, so
no. Go ahead. I think it's. I think
so. More or less, they're okay. So the one part I can't really figure out is whether the government actually purchased these coffins or if it was like a private company. But July 18th. Well, apparently the government is expecting 500,000 people to die relatively soon. And the Atlanta airport is a major airline traffic hub, probably the biggest in the country, which means Georgia is a prime base to conduct military operations and coordination. It also is the home of the CDC, the Center for Disease Control. I don't want to alarm anyone, but usually you don't buy 500,000 plastic coffins just in case something happens. And I think that was by I think that's an Alex Jones quote. So I'm gonna go ahead and guess the government probably did purchase these, but it was, from my understanding, it's more used for, and this is based on Snopes' research behind it. But from my understanding, it's actually they had purchased them to help, I guess, local in other words, they're used to help when an area floods constantly, but they still need to have burial ceremonies and stuff. They can put actual coffins in that during the ceremony before they bury it. So you don't just have this wooden casket or metal casket sitting on moist ground, from my understanding. So
that's still pretty creepy.
No, it is. It is if the number really is 500,000 of those, it still makes me think that maybe just maybe Snopes is bought by the government and used there to give us misinformation. But that would be conspiracy theorist, which I'm not, but it could be.
Maybe they got a good bulk price.
Yeah.
I mean, really, yeah. If you're gonna get a good price in bulk, why not just buy 500,000? Fuck it, right?
Yeah. Just because.
Another thing you could look at is the government does love to max out its spending every year, so they don't cut their funding the next year. It might have been one of those $5,000 hammers from NASA kind of thing.
Yes. What kind of weird shit can we buy with our budget this year?
Just in case there's 9/11 Part 2, we better have these on hand.
Yeah. So, did they buy those in did they maybe this is circumstantial, but did they buy those in response to an event that had already happened? You know what I mean? Were they do you know if it because you were talking about flooding and whatnot, did they buy those after a place had flooded? And when they they're hey, you know what would have been handy during this situation? 500,000 coffins.
Yeah, so I did just run past it. But there's a specific part in this Snopes article that says, contrary to the beliefs of the theorists, then the burial vaults aren't owned by the government or FEMA. Instead, they're owned by individuals or not sold yet. So, again, this could just be misinformation from the government fed to us by Snopes. But... Again,
what do you think they store 500,000?
No, dude. Every time someone brings up a theory behind Snopes, I always think back to the picture of the guy and his wife and their cat.
Yep.
And I just. I mean, the dude ended up divorcing his wife and marrying a prostitute.
I don't know. I don't even know what story you're talking about. To be honest.
No, that's the couple who started Snopes. I think.
No shit.
Yeah, it's literally just this old couple that were just fact checking the entire.
Yeah, they're doing it for funsies, and then people were hey, I guess these people are doing the legwork. Let's give them credibility.
Yeah.
So if there's ever an argument for making your assumptions, that's it. Coming to your own conclusion, because if two couples from the Midwest can do it, you can do it.
Yeah.
Wow. Wait. Hold up. What's wrong with a couple from the Midwest? Huh?
Nothing. I'm part of one.
Yeah. That's right. You guys are traitors. Oh wait, no. Does Wisconsin use Central Time? Yeah, it's right above Illinois. It would use Central Time. Never mind.
And we're an hour behind you guys.
Yeah. So the Michiganders.
Michiganders
are traitors to the Midwest. Yeah.
The Michiganers.
You guys aren't East Coast. Don't like your fucking
Michiganders. Oh my god.
That's bullshit. That's a conspiracy right there.
Yeah, whatever. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, so that's the whole crazy thing behind that. Snopes says it God not real, and all these other people say it do. So we'll never really know, I guess.
Sometimes how does that phrase go?
It do.
Sometimes sometimes you think it not be like it is, but it do.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, I got one to present here, and then we'll go ahead and wrap things up. We're making some good time. So, last but not least, I'm going to be talking about a sort of an urban legend similar to Bigfoot, but native to the Michigan area specifically. And this is the tales of the Michigan Dog Man. So the Michigan Dog Man, like I said, is a sort of urban legend that gained notoriety from a song about lumberjacks encountering a dog-like creature that they couldn't understand. A DJ from Traverse City named Steve Cook wrote and recorded the song using details from existing encounters and stories, which was later played on the radio in 1987. It was all a joke to him, but as soon as others had heard it, all sorts of stories and other accounts of encounters with the Dogman began to circulate about the creature, which was described as either a wolf-like creature that could stand upright or a misshapen man-beast with a dog's head. While some claim that it's a case of mistaken identity, a cougar, bear, or other rarely seen animal in the Michigan wilderness, others put a lot of stake into their encounters with the Michigan Dogman. One of the more believable encounters that I've read reads, quote, "One encounter that stands out is that of Robert Fortney, who saw the creature in the late 1930s. While fishing in the Muskegon River, which is real close to where some of us live, near the small Michigan village of Paris, a pack of wild dogs came out of the woods. Fortney fired his gun and scared them off, all except one, a large black dog that stood up on its hind legs and attempted to scare Fortney by staring him down with its glaring blue eyes. Fortney shot in the direction of the creature, which then disappeared into the woods. In the fall of 1986, near Manistee, Michigan, Ray Greenway was driving home from the Manistee Army recruiting station. It was late at night, and he noticed something in the darkened field behind him. His headlights were reflecting off what appeared to be eyes, but they were much too high off the ground to be a deer. Suddenly, the unidentifiable creature began running towards him and making an incredible leap, cleared across the two-lane road, and he says, "There is no animal that it could be. I know that this was not a deer." Okay. He went on to describe its yellow eyes and impossible leaping ability. Quote, "I do remember that I saw both eyes as if it were looking at me the whole time. That, along with the leaping ability, is what I will never forget." One witness claims a creature best described as a werewolf was stalking up the hill behind their house in the late, this is a news story, in the late fall of 2001. Quote, "My stepdaughter and I were looking out the French doors to see a creature, black in color, like a big bear with haunches and the head of a wolf. While that was the first and only visual the Cass County, Michigan residents experienced, they can still hear it splashing around the 20-acre swamp late at night. Sometimes they can even hear it shrieking, and according to them, it has a scream of an infant, loud and hysterical." I remember what that sounds like.
Yep.
Yeah. It'd be pretty creepy to hear that just out in the wilderness. Another story back in the 1860s. This is kind of a possible explanation of what they could be, as far as the legend that surrounds them. Back in the 1860s, the Cheyenne established their own group of warriors known as dog soldiers or dog men. Native Americans would spend years studying or becoming one with their spirit animal, taking on the mannerisms and strength of wolves or wild dogs. Allegedly, all the Cheyenne dogmen were killed off by the U.S. Army. According to lore passed down from the elders, however, not all of them died. According to legends, some of the dogmen actually shapeshifted into dogs and now roam the woods and swamplands. It's worth noting that while all witnesses of these half-dog, half-man beasts admit to feeling terrified, there haven't actually been any known deaths or serious physical attacks attributed to the dogmen. This is thought to be because of the Indian belief that one must invite evil unto themselves. Therefore, in most of the cases, the creatures do not harm anyone because they were unprovoked. Descriptions of the Michigan Dogman have varied over the years, so it's safe to say that if it exists, it's not a lone wolf. These creatures are usually described as having glowing amber or icy blue eyes, the head of a dog with vicious fangs, and a human torso. They can stand up on two legs and are somewhere between 6 and 7 foot tall. They are incredibly fast and allegedly have a horrible infant-like scream or howl. According to local legend, the dogmen appear in 10-year cycles. Early sightings of the cryptid were reported all throughout Michigan. However, soon get this, guys, and soon it spread to Wisconsin. Alleged sightings began to pop up all over the country soon afterwards. Clearly, the most obvious explanation, if one believes these creatures do exist, is that they are simply an undiscovered breed of wild canid. Most have claimed the dogmen as actually a prehistoric wolf similar to an amarok, which I don't know what that is, or that it's a dog-coyote hybrid. Assuming the sightings are genuine, it's also possible that normal creatures of abnormal size are being misidentified, or that multiple creatures are being wrongfully labeled as the same creature. This theory would account for most eyewitnesses describing a wolf-like animal, while every so often someone claims it looks like a massive, malformed member of the bear family. When I was looking this shit up, I was like, creeping myself out because they got pictures and audio and videos and all that stuff. Like it's a whole nother thing, like Bigfoot, but I believe it has more sightings on record than even Bigfoot does. But yeah, who knows?
Well, so serious question.
What's that?
Do you think this dog man and BoJack Horseman are friends?
I couldn't tell you. Experts would have to weigh in on this, and so far to my knowledge they have not.
Okay.
Yeah.
You should look into this thing called a skinwalker.
Oh yeah.
Native American folklore.
Yep. Skinwalker Ranch. Already. Skinwalker Ranch, you ever heard of that?
That sounds horrible.
Yep, that's same deal. Basically werewolves and whatnot, but it's also a hotbed for UFO-like activity too. But yeah, it's the same deal as far as the Native American legend, as far as, you know, like I already talked about, the what do they call them? Dog soldiers. Yeah. So, yeah. But yeah.
Well, it rings a bell with the skinwalkers, because if I remember correctly, a Native American or a skinwalker is a shape-shifting, like, kind of like a dog man, but it wasn't just like something that you'd encounter in the wild. It was something that would attach to a person, usually someone who did something awful, and kind of follow them around the rest of their life hell, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that sounds right. And the X-Files did a number of shows relating to that kind of stuff too. But it was kind of cool, like researching this and you know, finding something native to Michigan, because Lord knows everybody's always wanting to find something that terrifies them close to home. So
something to scare the kids with.
Yeah, well, it's something to scare Wes with too, because one of my biggest fears, being on land at least, is driving down a dark road and something jumping out in front of me and me not knowing what it is. Or like some of the stories deal with this thing jumping out or running across the road and people swerving to hit it, or swerving to avoid it and going off and going off in the ditch. I'd swerve to hit it, man, but like swerving. Swerving off the road to miss it.
I see anything.
But can you imagine, like, something like you don't know what it is, you swerve to miss it, and you end up in a ditch.
You don't swerve.
Well, I'm just saying. In this hypothetical situation, imagine being stranded out in the middle of nowhere, knowing that you just almost hit something that you have no idea what it is. Or maybe you do have an idea what it is, and it terrifies you. That's like a big fear of mine, a land fear, like.
Oh, so being caught with your pants down, in other words.
I guess.
Stuck in a ditch.
Yeah.
Not getting out of the car.
Yeah. And there was a piece of audio that I wasn't going to play on here until I immediately after listening to it and getting scared out of my mind, immediately found the debunking of. So it was like
was it a porn?
No, it was like an OnStar call of this guy that swerve to miss it, and he's like describing what he thinks what it looked like and everything like that. And then like, you know, the end of the audio, like you hear some pretty creepy noises and then it cuts out. But yeah, it was just immediately after that video, I watched the next one in the playlist, and it was like debunking that claim. So I was like, yeah, well,
I hate when that happens.
Yeah, I know, me too. Like the mystery was alive for all of about 2 minutes before before it was ruined.
Last, though.
Yeah. So
dude, cryptids would make a really cool episode, I think, if you guys wanted to really dig into that.
I would love to dig into that one, because
cryptozoology is the coolest shit.
It is, and I've had a love affair with the Loch Ness Monster ever since I was a kid. Bigfoot really doesn't interest me, even though it would still be terrifying to run into. But I'm afraid of like water creatures, like sharks and shit like that. So the Loch Ness Monster being in a lake, not being in the ocean, is pretty scary to me. So,
but Nessie is like a gentle creature.
You think?
So they say.
I just saw a meme on the internet saying the Loch Ness Monster was a whale dick.
A whale dick.
But now that you remind me that it's in a lake, that doesn't make much sense either.
A whale dick.
I'm not to talk to that guy.
Like like the whale's just doing like a backstroke, and it's just hanging out.
There was pictures of the whales doing that, and it was like, oh, that kind of makes sense. But then I remember it's in a lake.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole thing with Loch Ness Monster is that, like, one of the theories is that there's like some sort of canal that leads out to the ocean that it like swam up back in the day, and it just acclimated to fresh water. But I don't know. I've just been very curious and interested in that type of folklore ever since I was a kid. Every documentary that comes on where they're talking about cryptozoology, it's like, they're not going to find anything, but it's still fun to watch.
Yeah, they get all dramatic right before the commercial breaks too.
Yeah, reminds me of those. I just watched this video, and this is all I'll say on it. But I watched this video compilation of flat earthers proving themselves wrong.
That is fun.
like doing the experiments and
I mean, here's the thing. One of these conspiracy theories has got to be fucking on the money.
Oh yeah.
That's the thing.
There's got to be
we're
like
making fun of conspiracy theorists, but if you really think about it, some of them might be fucking right.
It's possible. I mean,
yeah.
There's a lot of the reason why a lot of this stuff kind of catches on to certain personality types is that there's a kernel of truth to it, or a kernel of plausibility. So yeah, so it's just enough to make your mind go, well, if that part's true, then the rest of it could be. Yeah, with that, we'll go ahead and wrap things up. It has been another successful Conspiracy and Unexplained Phenomenati episode. So
yeah.
It had some technical issues. Drew had to cut out just to give him a send off here. Have a good night, Drew, and have a good night, everybody else. We love you, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Love you guys. Bye.
XOXO.
Take care.
Come
yes, bitch. Yes.
Yes. All right. Good night, guys.
Bye.